Hi everyone, this is a demonstration video of a visualization tool called the Interaction Geography Slicer, a tool to visualize movement, conversation, and audio and video data over space and time. This tool is a collaborative project with many teachers, museum professionals, and other developers. And today I'm going to show some of the features of this tool by looking at two example data sets, one of Michael Jordan's last shot, and another from a classroom science lesson. And I'll also say a few things about how you can load your own data into this tool. So to get started, this is the welcome intro screen you see when you start up the program. You can show or hide this screen at any time. There's a link to a website that gives you a little more details about how to use this tool. So I'll get rid of that message, and up here in the top menu bar, you'll see a few buttons and also a drop-down menu where it says select an option. Here you can select to load your own data or select one of many different sample data sets. So I'll select the first example, which is titled Michael Jordan's Last Shot. And when you select example one, a few things happen. First, we see an image of a basketball court, and the orange path on the court is actually Michael Jordan's movement over a period of about 30 seconds, during which he plays defense and then transitions to offense and hits a game win, or kind of a last shot that ends up winning the game for the Chicago Bulls. Now that movement is also extended upwards in time. You'll notice there's a timeline here at the bottom, right? And when I hover above that, you get a feel that there's a three-dimensional, what's called a space-time cube here, and Jordan's movement is going upwards in time. Now to help understand how to read this, you'll also notice there's a video here. And anywhere I click on the timeline will play that video at that moment in time, right? So I'm actually going to click and start the video right at the beginning. And then we're going to watch Michael Jordan's movement during about 30 seconds here to help read this space-time visualization. So here we go. I'm going to play the movement.
Brings them to within one.
And we're watching Michael Jordan running back on defense here. You can find him in the video. He's roughly at the top of the key now, okay? And of course, we know how to read movement on the floor plan or on the basketball court, so to speak. But watching him move upwards in time kind of shows you where he stops, when he's moving, right? And you get a much different feel of how his movement changes over time. The long, thick lines are where he stops. And here he makes a move to the basket, pulls back, pauses as he hits his game-winning shot, and runs back to half court. So that's a lot to take in. This is a type of visualization that's been around for some years, but this is a very new type of tool to be able to do these visualizations with data from basketball, from classrooms, from all sorts of other things. So a few things. You can show and hide the video anytime, right? You can hover and rescale the timeline to show and selectively study, in this case, Michael Jordan's movement. Again, when you see thick lines, that's when he's not moving. When you see thin lines, that's when he is moving. You can turn on and off Michael Jordan's movement with the keys down below. You'll notice a few different keys down here. If you click the floor plan key, you can actually go ahead and rotate the floor plan, right? Kind of rotate a three-dimensional structure. And I'm going to start unfolding a few more interactive features. This is a fairly simple example. It's a single person, there's no conversation, and it's very short. So let's transition and look at the second example, which is a classroom science lesson. So I'm going to click the example 2, and the same thing will happen, right? You'll see a new data set and a video come up. In this case, the video is of a teacher in a middle school science classroom, right? Let me go ahead and hide the video, right? Here, you're seeing movement of that teacher in the same format over a floor plan of the classroom instead of a basketball court now. And her movement extends upwards once again in time. This time, not over 30 seconds, but over 56 minutes, almost an hour, right? Now, the rectangles you see are actually turns of conversation from the teacher and the students. If I go ahead and hit this align talk button, it's kind of helpful. It lines up all the conversation, right, over upwards in time. So again, this is the beginning of the lesson down here for the conversation, beginning of the movement. And as you extend upwards, right, go across the timeline, you get the idea. Movement and conversation are extending upwards in time. Now, say I only want to show the teacher's conversation, right? Or let's actually just show all the students' conversation. I can remove what's coded as teacher conversation as a T down here, right? I'm toggling on and off. So now we're looking at a purple path of a teacher's movement and all student conversation over space and over time. Once again, we could rescale the timeline to the beginning of the lesson, right? And we kind of see where she's moving, when she's stopping, but we can see a lot more detail, right? There's qualities of her movement that are really descriptive. And one of the advantages of this tool, and one of the goals of it, is we have lots of ways to, for example, study conversation, but we have really few ways to look at how people move in classrooms and basketball courts. And the movement of teachers, for example, is highly intentional and very important to how they teach. And so for teachers or for anybody using these types of tools, a goal is to provide them with new ways to see how they do things like teaching, right? So a few more interactive features with this tool. We've been spending all our time so far in the 3D view. There's a 2D view that allows for different types of things. So I'm going to press this 2D, 3D button, and all you get here is a flattened version of that three-dimensional space-time cube, right? And I can rotate it. Okay, I can rotate it, say, to this position. On the left, we get a much clearer view of the floor plan. Same floor plan, same patterns of movement that we were looking at in the 3D view. These circles are points where, in this case, the teacher is stopping. And of course, the thin lines are where she's moving, right? And on the right-hand view, you get a much more kind of analytical version of a graph. It's a flattened view of that three-dimensional space-time cube. And by that, I mean up and down in this view corresponds to up and down on the floor plan. So again, if I select the beginning of a class, this classroom lesson, right? You kind of get the idea. You can very closely follow when this teacher is moving, okay? When she stops, all right? Long period of stop here. You could read conversation in the 2D view. If you hover over these conversation turns, you can actually read what students or teachers are saying or anybody is saying. Let's put the teacher back in, right? Kind of her conversation, okay? And you can do these types of things and read the conversation that's occurring. You can click the video button, and anywhere you click will play video at that point in time. Here the teacher is by one particular table group, about to transition to another part of the classroom. There she goes, right? So you get the idea. The 2D view allows for far more interactive capabilities. It's a bit more analytical, harder to read in some ways when you're first looking at it. The argument is once you get the hang of it, there's a lot of things the 2D view gives you that the 3D doesn't, and vice versa. So flipping between the views is both hopefully fun and informative, right? We kind of flip that whole thing back to the 3D view. We can rescale the time and look at the teacher's movement once again, seeing different types of patterns and details of movement and classroom interaction. So again, this was just a quick demonstration with 2 example data sets. Perhaps one of the more exciting things about this tool is, of course, you can load your own data. If you click this Load Data button, you need at least a floor plan image file and a movement file that's formatted in a way that's described. If you go to the website in this How to Use button, it will give you a little more background on how to format those files, both with either other transcription tools or sensor-based data. You can also load a conversation file if you have one, and a video file if you have one. So that's kind of the basic way to load your own data into this tool and then study it. There's other things you can do. There's all sorts of selective possibilities down here. You can select regions of space. You can select only movement and conversation when people are moving or they're stopped. And we're working with all sorts of other people to build different kind of coding structures in here. So over the next few months and year, we'll be certainly adding quite a bit to this tool. You're welcome to reach out to us or join this open source project and contribute your own work and ideas to this tool. You're more than welcome to do that. But again, hopefully this video gives you a little bit of an understanding about what this fairly new type of tool is, how to read some of the complicated visualizations, and how folks, if you're a teacher or working in museums or other types of places, if you skim through these example data sets, we'll put up more over the next few months. You can think a little bit about how you might use this in your own context. So thanks so much for your time, and feel free to reach out at any time.